So start recording. All right. So today is Saturday, and we're going to be doing another one tomorrow. I am going to try to push Kubernetes learning up a notch as much as I can. You're going to see less coding for me and stuff like that. That's not Kubernetes related for a while. I'm really trying to knock this out as fast as possible. So that's what's going to happen. So let me just recap from what happened yesterday. If you didn't watch the whole stream, this all these streams go up on YouTube under the playlist Kubernetes Colearning, Cloud Native Colearning. There's a playlist there. You can go look at it. I'm not doing simultaneous live stream to YouTube. You have to go watch the video after it gets published, which will be sometime tonight by 6 or so. And this is very messy. It's very fast. I'm doing this for my own purposes. I'm going to be speaking unclearly and quickly. If you're here for beginner level learning, or you can, if you have a question, you want to throw something in there, go ahead. But and sometimes I can clarify if it's a quick question. But for the most part, this type of stream that I'm doing right now is not like, hey, it's not like an AMA kind of thing, right? I will be doing those kinds of things probably later tonight, actually. I'm going to be going through all the Discord channel and answering questions from Discord and trying to catch up on that sort of thing. That's a new thing I'm going to try to practice. I need to put that on the schedule, but I'm going to try to do some of that live and make videos about it so people can go watch them. So, but for today, the goal right now for the next 3 hours till about 3 o'clock. Last time I went over by an hour, but the goal for today is to establish the best possible learning environment that I want to use going forward. I've exhaustively tried Kind. Kind was the first thing I used after being, just to recap, Minikube. I tried Minikube after Kind as a potential alternative to Docker Desktop because it doesn't require Docker Desktop, which is not FOSS software. And now I'm back to Kind, mostly because it has QADM built in, even though it's not a true machine. And it's not even a virtual machine. It just runs simulated machines inside of containers. And we left off with this kind of interesting question about whether we can actually make multi-node clusters with Kind. So if you watched this stream like 2 or 3 streams ago, we talked about, I spent the entire thing specking hardware specking hardware, anticipating that I was going to build out a bigger, I thought I had to have virtual machines. At the time, I was under the misimpression that that you have to have 2 cores per node, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to spend $3,000, $5,000 for a computer that's got enough cores in order to run simulations of the stuff that I want to learn, including multi-master, multi-worker node clusters, blah 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 blah. And then, my friends are like, no, and then you don't need any of that. So first of all, you can specify, a subcore if you're using a virtual machine, but even if and then Cluster API came out on October 6th. KubeCon's next week. We talked about that. I'm not going to talk about it now. We have friends in the chat who have actually been sharing the fact that they're going to be one of the presenters, and they've been talking about it publicly in Twitch. So I figure they don't mind that information being doxed. I'm really proud to have them here helping us learn, and they're definitely great resources for that. So so Cluster CPL and Cluster API came out, which are just sort of turnkey ways of making a cluster. Ironically, I actually Google, detected that I'm interested in stuff, started stuffing stuff in my face on my phone, and I there was an article I read which is really phenomenal about how to get up a cluster IP and on bare metal. So this is another thing I just discovered. So this week, I'm not going to talk about this tonight. So MAAS, I'm going to put this as a to-do. So look into MAAS using Canonical offering. So apparently metal as a service is a thing. And Vim, how would I delete every single line that does not have a length of 8? I wouldn't do that with Vim. I'd write a filter for that. It's pretty easy to do that. You need to learn how to use the filter command in Vim. It's previously called Magic Wand. So that's the short answer for that. So to do So I need to look into, so metal as a service is a thing. I've talked about this before. I've talked about where is this going, because, not everything in Kubernetes is managed under Kubernetes, including all the hardware and infrastructure. Well, they now have that, and I'm going to really avoid this rabbit hole today, because it's not going to be on any certification exam or anything, but it's super cool. So you can actually spin up. You can run MAAS. You just have to put the OS, um, the stub, and the canonical, Ubuntu offering. It's free, of course, and you put that on your hardware, as I understand it, and then you use Cluster API from a management cluster inside of Kind, which we're all going to do today, and then you can spin up, you can provision hardware in addition to to all the Kubernetes stuff and the different clusters and stuff. So that is like the holy grail. And when I read about that, I was super intrigued by that. So there's a Red Hat has another offering in that space. I was really, 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 really interested in that. I think I read the article at like 4 a.m. yesterday because I could not sleep last night. Um, and so we got a lot of stuff going on. So today the goal for me is to see how much I can do with just Kind. And so far it's been tough because, I learned the commands for Kind, and then I learned the commands for Minikube, and now I'm going back to Kind. So my brain's all messed up in terms of like, what should I be using for my personal setup. But now that I've seen that the Cluster API very directly recommends Kind, uh, I'm going to be sticking with the Kind option. And specifically, I want to know what it takes to make a node using Kind. In other words, can I simulate building out my own hardware infrastructure? So this is the goal. The reason I brought up MAAS as well is because ultimately I want to be able to say, I want to be able to spin up different configurations like on the fly like that, right? And I was under the impression that metal, doing on bare metal was going to take a lot longer to do that because you have to burn the USB images, and you have to go to the machines and put the image on, and you have to do all that. You don't have to do any of that. I mean, you do if you want to play around with the infrastructure stuff like Ansible and how to possibly do that stuff. But that the way this is going, Ansible is going to become sort of irrelevant with regard to Kubernetes. All of these other information infrastructure stuff, even Terraform. Terraform is actually, I mean, I know it's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. But in the Kubernetes cloud native space, those like Ansible and Terraform and Chef and all that are going to go down in importance. There's very, very, all of the energy right now. I imagine it's going to be a big topic. I don't know, but I imagine it's going to be a topic in KubeCon next week. So the energy for doing metal as a service and putting everything under the Kubernetes management and orchestration umbrella is very real. It's very dynamic. It's very up there. And that means that within the next year or two, anything that's not that is probably not going to get a lot of attention. And I certainly don't want to give anything more attention than it deserves because I don't have time. There's just too much to learn. There's a huge article, 2 huge articles that came across my blog entries today. I didn't write about them, but that's saying that Kubernetes, that Google AWS is now giving away free training for cloud because they can't get enough people. So it's hard enough to learn all this stuff. So how are we going to learn it? So the first task today, I'm going to play around with this right now, is I'm going to go set up a Kind cluster, and I'm going to pull down my own individual node, and I'm going to try to make a node image. I'm going to try to use one of the standard images, like like a Docker image or maybe a BusyBox or Alpine image. I'm going to try to use an image from Kind, and so we're going to do that. We're going to say attempt to use standard OS images for nodes with Kind. So this is something new that I kind of skipped over when I went to Minikube. So I'm going to go back, and we're now back in the Kind space. Why am I doing this? Because when I go to do, Kelsey Hightower's like Zero to Kubernetes or whatever other training I want to do, I want to do the whole node setup in as close a way possible to a real system. And I kind of have to spec out what that's going to look like up front. Last I researched this, somebody actually mentioned yesterday that you have to have install kubeadm. So if that's all that image requires is that kubeadm be installed on there, and that's like step 1, install the kubeadm, I think I'm going to be okay. But it might mean that I have to make my own images that are sub whatever, children of some of the base images. Okay. So the page about this, if you want to read about it, is here. So this is the Kind documentation page. I love that they talk about the shim. It's still there because they need to. Node image. This may not completely cover current images. So, as usual, the documentation is woefully behind. They can never keep up. I mean, the documentation suffers from this everywhere. How to use it? Using WSL2, working offline. Um, you know, I don't know about this ingress load balancer. I'm gonna not get. I already did the quick start. So if you haven't done the kind quick start, let me know. So just to recap, kind is a full Kubernetes cluster implementation, control plane, everything using a single node inside of a Docker engine, a container engine, Docker, right? So it's not virtual at all. It's not a virtual machine and it's not physical. It's entirely contained within your local Docker installation. And that's why it's the darling of all the testers and everything, because it was created to do that. Okay, so the node image is a Docker image for running nested container systemd and Kubernetes components. Yeah. So the image is sort of a version of. Do I still have Steam running? I gotta turn Steam off. I wish it would not send notifications. Kind of annoying. Anyway, I did that last time too. I forgot. Yeah, you guys probably remember. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I know. I'm sorry. Just give me a second here. I gotta leave Steam off in general. I don't think it starts Steam when I play some games. It brings it on. Anyway. Trying to stay focused here. Okay, so the image is built on top of the base image. Logic for building node image can be found in package build, and it can be built with kind build and node image respectively. Ooh. So you can instead of using Docker, you can use kind build. Because, well, you gotta have Docker for kind. The base image is a smallish Docker image for running nested container system and Kubernetes components. To do this, we need to set up an environment that will meet the CRI, currently just Docker. Container runtime, is that what it is? Currently, and systemd interface, container runtime interface, and systemd's particular needs. Documentation for each step we take in line to the image's Docker file, but essential. We pre-install tools, packages expected by Docker system, Kubernetes, and other Kubernetes itself. So understanding this base image is actually part of the training, because this is the stuff that you need to put on a node, which we talked about on Kubernetes.io. So this is where this is all coming from. Kubernetes.io. If you go to Kubernetes basics, yes. So getting started, concepts. So go down to the concepts page here. I think this is the one. Nope. Cluster architecture. Here we go. Nope. Nodes, control plane. Where's the diagram? Where's our pretty diagram? Is it in the overview? God damn it. This documentation is really hard to get through. I mean, seriously, it's like really hard. It's so circuitous. I can't find out what to do. Getting started, we did that. Learning environment, production environment. Learning environment, we did that. kubectl, kind. We're using kind, minikube. Yeah. Docker installed minikube. Getting started. Think minikube, get started. kubeadm. kubeadm, okay, fine. subctl, Mac OS, and Windows. It's like all over the place, man. I don't like the docs on Q. I'm just gonna say it. I get more annoyed by them every day because I can't fucking find anything. It's like I know they have a search thing, but it's not. This honestly, going through this documentation exercise, tiny rant here, has caused me to rethink all the ways that I document everything. In case you want to know, here's a preview. I'm actually making badges that have dependency mappings so that you can see exactly where you are. So, and I'll be doing stuff for Kubernetes eventually too. Concepts, overview, cluster containers, workloads. I give up. There's a really great chart here that no one can find. You know what? Fine. I'm just gonna make my own eventually. I should make one right now. Yeah. Why don't I do that? Oh, I should do that. It'd be kind of a good practice. Okay, can you draw a chart? Can you draw a chart of the major components? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I know I'm kind of all over, but let's do it. We're gonna make a new one. New. What the fuck? All right. New. Create diagram. Create new diagram. Blank diagram. Cloud. Ooh, there's a whole category for cloud now. GCP. Shit. That looks fancy. That looks fancy. Let's try it. That wasn't as fancy as I thought. It's not fancy at all. It's all right. So we need to put. Well, I'm just gonna use boxes and shit. All right. So here we have. This is a control plane. Now, see, here's the. You know what? No, we're gonna do mine. I'm gonna do mine differently. Because every time they say control plane, it's like, yeah, but what, what machine is that on, right? So, but okay, let's start. Let's do this thing. All right, so we have this, and then we have, we'll put this as like storage, right? So this is etcd, etcd, etcd. That's where all the stuff gets stored, all the data gets stored, and then there's kube controller. You know what we could use? We could like really like mess this up. Shall we like totally mess it up? Now let's do this. Okay, so this is, where's the controller? There's a controller. Where's my controller? Where is it? It must be a UML thing. Yeah. Yeah, I used to be obsessed with UML. Oh my god. I was so obsessed. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Controller. So here we have, what's this thing called? We have the kube proxy. So this is the kube controller. And these, right? I'm gonna have to go find this. This is I'm testing myself right now. This is sort of a self-assessment. And then I do know there's another controller that actually talks to the cloud. Where's our cloud? Come on, there's gotta be a cloud in here somewhere. Where's our cloud? Where's our nice pretty cloud? There should be a Kubernetes like thing. Yeah. So there's our cloud provider. Cloud. Yep. So we have a cloud provider connection, and then we have I mean, it can be any cloud provider, right? This is not a kube controller. This is called cloud controller manager, I think. What's it called? What is it called again? Again, I'm studying, so I'm practicing. Architecture, nodes, control plane communication controllers, cloud controller manager. That's it. Yeah. So this is a cloud controller manager. Cloud. Yeah, cloud controller. And then we have the main thing. We have the API servers, which are multiple. You can have lots of them. I don't know how to do that. I mean, we could do this. You could say, you could have like multiple of them. I mean, that doesn't quite do it. I don't know how to do multiplicity. We could probably do, I mean, there's many ways to do this. I do this. Let's say group. All right. So here, this is the Kubernetes API server, right? So this is the API servers or controllers. I think it's actually the proxy. No, this is the proxy servers, servers. Oh, I can't remember. Control plane manager. There we go. That's what I was looking for. All right, so let's see if I can remember it. I don't want to cheat. I'm not cheating. So etcd I had. Okay, we have lots of controllers. That's right. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, so yeah, kube controllers, we have like a couple of them, right? So these are controllers, and they use the controller model, which is just has an event loop and watches things and subscriber thing. If you know about enterprise loop design patterns, and I'll group that. All right, so I wonder if there's more than one cloud control manager. I'm gonna cheat and look. Is there? No, what was I looking at? The wrong thing. Oh, wait, what? All right, so yes, CCM, CM. All right, so let's memorize these. CM, controller manager. They're all managers, and that's interesting because the name of the cluster, when you use the cluster API and use cluster CTL, they call it the management cluster, which is a different thing. It's a different thing than the control plane. So okay. So. All right. Wait. All right. So, God damn it. I'm not doing this right. Here we go. All right. So cloud manager. We do have more than one. All right. So we're going to group those together. So cloud controller manager, and this is a controller manager and or managers. I'll put managers. How about that? This is my own diagram. TM copyright. It could be whatever, AWS, Azure, and it's really obvious. You can provide your own you can provide your own provisioning provider or something with Cluster API. Mm-hmm. And there's only one etcd. This is the thing. So you can split your etcd across systems and stuff, but God damn it. No, that's not it. That's not it. God damn it. I'm very bad today. I'd probably just close this. I was looking at how to do requirements. Yeah, okay. So it says there's only one etcd, but there's actually not. Etcd can be on multiple systems. And you want to back up, and it can be. So this is a logical diagram. It's not real, right? API server. So you have the scheduler and the API. Okay, so what do you got? So we got the node controller, which, yeah, what? Node controller. A node controller is responsible for creating node objects when new servers are created. Route controller, service controller. Oh, these are all of the controllers. A service controller, a route controller, and a node controller. I don't think I knew that before. So there's lots of controllers here. Okay. God, I want to like break those all down. That's actually awesome. I didn't realize that. Okay, the controllers inside the cloud controller manager include inside the cloud controller manager. Inside the cloud controller manager. Let me restate that. So here we have the cloud controller manager. The controllers inside the cloud controller manager. Okay, I'm gonna make a better diagram. Yep, I am. I'm gonna make a better one. So, because I don't like that one. All right. Okay, so there's the node controller. I want to see all the pieces. I hate that people don't show you all the pieces. All right, we have the node controller in there. We have what? The node controller is responsible for creating node objects when the new servers are created in your cloud infrastructure. The node controller can obtain information from hosts running inside your tenancy with the cloud provider. The cloud controller manager functions. Oh, these are cloud controllers. Okay, so these come under here. Ooh, okay. So we need to have like a grouping. We need a group. So we'll do one of these. Well, I'm gonna make it dotted line because it's kind of logical, right? And honestly, these things are all pods. So that's the other thing that was not particularly clear. These are all running under the Kubernetes infrastructure. So this thing here is what? This thing is called a cloud controller manager. And I think a cloud controller manager is a separate thing. I wonder if it's a pod. Cloud controller manager. All right. So here we go. Cloud controller manager. Oh shit. It's gonna be this big. Cloud controller manager. Nice. All right. So this can go together. Group. All right. So we got a node controller. What else goes in there? I didn't remember breaking these down. This is cool. I don't remember reading this. Node controller. Node controller performs the following functions. Installation node. I need to understand this because I'm building this shit. PC or VM stuff. No, I decided against doing a PC. Period. I'm just doing everything in kind. It's actually much faster and user and friendly. Yeah, I'm about to prove that. We're gonna make an image in kind and not even use a VM at all. Yeah. So I'm done looking for computers at this point. Particularly since if you use the clusterctl cluster API tool, not only can you point it at Docker and you have a Docker containers run emulating your nodes, but that you build, but you can also change it. You can also change it and have it point to any any cloud provider using exactly the same configuration and have it do it there. So it's basically you just like point the arrow at whether you want it on-prem, whether you want Docker on your local machine, whether you want hardware. If you use the machine as a service thing, you can get that. I just read about that. You can actually do it on your own local hardware as long as they're all running the agent, and you can point it straight at or you can point it straight at any cloud provider, and they provide like a dozen different cloud providers that are already built into Cluster API. If you're interested in that, Matt, you might really want to watch yesterday's. It was like 3 or 4 hours, but it was solidly filled with me experimenting with Cloud Controller API. It's super cool. It just came out on the 6th officially. It got officially released on the 6th. All right, but I'm still trying to understand all the components inside and what they are. I mean, the biggest question I've had all along is like, what are these things? And I think we answered that question pretty succinctly last time. They are pods. They are pods within Kubernetes. They just have special purpose. So I've noticed that that's a trend in the Kubernetes world, and particularly with the cluster API, is that they use Kubernetes to deploy Kubernetes infrastructure and to build it up. So it kind of layers on itself, and sometimes it's a chicken and the egg kind of thing. But all right, so we have no controllers. No controllers go in the cloud manager, and they. I'm going to put one in here just because I want to see. It probably doesn't have to be. No, Command Z. All right, so make this bigger. Oh shit. Is it gonna mess me up? Yes, it is. Oh, damn it. You know what? I just need to draw it without grouping. Okay, ungroup. Was it Option Shift U? Control Shift U. I can't, they did a weird mapping for that. Oh, geez. I just got rid of the graph. Actually, that's kind of nice. All right. Can you just ungroup, please? There. All right. Control manager, control plane. This is for my own purposes. So the node controller, the cloud controller manager is not even really that important for me to understand. But this is what talks to your cloud. You only have it if you have something talking to your cloud. So like this, right? If you have a cloud provider API. This is interesting because this is a different API than the cluster API. The Cloud Controller Manager runs in the control plane as a replicated set of processes. So it's a replica set. Usually these are containers and pods. Yeah. Each Cloud Controller Manager implements multiple controllers in a single process. Ooh. In a single process. Interesting. multiple controllers in a single process. So how do I show that? How do I show that this is itself a process? I don't know. I'm trying to get clearer with this. I'm going to put Cloud Controller Manager. I've got UML in here. This is a little bit of backwards UML going on here. You can define the type up above in UML. I probably should do this as UML. I'm going to indicate the type up top. So this, I want to tell you what kind of a thing it is. And this is going to be, so a node controller, I'm going to say, is a pod. It doesn't have to be, but I'm going to call it a pod. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. We're going to find out. So, all right. Control functions. Initialize the node, annotate labeling. So this brings the node online. Okay. The route controller. The route controller is responsible for configuring routes in the cloud appropriately so that the containers on different nodes in your Kubernetes cluster can communicate with each other. You know what? I'm going to go look at these things. I'm going to go look at them because it makes so much more sense to me if I can actually look at it. I'll go rip it apart. Online editors. No, yeah, this isn't an online editor. It was, but it's Electron now. So, just set an abstraction. You can't spell without UML. What a lame joke. All right, so I got my kind cluster up. Let me see what I am last time. Kind cluster, get kind clusters. Okay, I have a kind cluster. Okay, get pods. I don't remember what I have here. Yep, okay, it's all there. So, I want to see this. So this is all the stuff that's running in a cluster. Okay, these are all pods. So CoreDNS is a pod, etcd is a pod. Again, these are elements of the control plane, and the kube system is the namespace that always encapsulates all the pods that belong to the control plane, and that means because you can run a pod anywhere, right? Pod doesn't have to be on a single node. That's what gets confusing when you're talking about trying to diagram and shit. Yeah. A Java application. Kube system, kube proxy. We talked about that. Control manager, the controller manager. We talked about that. It doesn't look like this has a cloud manager on it. It must be an add-on for kind of, which makes sense. And a path provisioner, so the local path provisioner, that is not a kube thing. I'm wondering what that is. This must be a kind thing. Yeah, it is. Local path storage. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Okay, so that's just this is yeah, that's just a kind of persistence layer. Okay, so scheduler, proxy, controller manager, and the API server listening on port 6000. Kind net, which is the network manager, probably fulfills ingress as well. Guessing, etcd, CoreDNS, so all the other good stuff. All right, so let's do this. K, get all cluster IP. Oh wait, let's just do describe all. Cluster IP. You must specify API resources. Let's do all of them. Here's all of the resources. No, let's do K get API resources. Yeah. All right, so this is all of the stuff that's on the system that you can fetch. RBox storage. Okay. API services. No. Okay, get. It's not get a, it's something else. There's something to see all the stuff. Network policy, IP tables, yeah. So explain. You just explain everything. All it's gonna be like, no, there's like. I mean, we don't have any pods because we don't have anything built here yet. And what I was trying to get at is, like, what's actually running there. So let's actually connect to the control plane node and see what's running on it, and see if I can identify what the running processes belong to. So this is something I did for the first time last time. So we are going to do this. We're going to say k exec it kind control plane. Actually, I keep forgetting you cannot connect to the. This is like the equivalent of trying to connect to the machine with SSH through Kubernetes, which you can't do because Kubernetes doesn't have insight into it unless you're using the cluster manager or something. So that's a fail. So I want to do Docker PS. This running node is the equivalent. This is my node. So what I'm about to do is the same as SSH. If I were going to SSH into the system, but it's the equivalent of that, but it's the Docker equivalent of that. So Docker, anytime you want to see what's going on, like you got Kubernetes here, you got your whole system that hosts Kubernetes on the kubelet, on the machine, and the kindness node is a machine. All right, so Docker exec it kind control plane bash. We'll just go log in. So now we're logging in as bash. We're going to ps-ef more via the CLI into no, I haven't found it if it does have it yet. If it hasn't, I don't think it does. You have to go to it using exec and Docker. It would be cool if it did, but that's kind of cheating though, right? Because I mean, I feel like it should have that. Maybe I'm just not finding it because Minikube has mkSSH and boom, you're on the host. I haven't found anything in Kind that does that yet. But maybe it's because I'm using an old version of Kind. Who knows? Maybe I need a new one. Actually, do I have the latest version of Kind? Oh my God. Yeah. Just a basic question. So I want to talk to Kubernetes clusters from different provider, have different kube configs, and have the right one enforced as per our reads. Or is it no controller applicable when our cluster spans across multiple providers? I think spanning your cluster across multiple providers is a mistake. Personally, I've seen that become a problem with latency so many times. I know people are starting to think about that, but this new cluster API stuff, I think there's many. I'm the noob. Okay, I'm a noob. Don't trust what I say. But there's, Taniwa, for example. There's a lot of people here who would tell you that. The direction for Kubernetes going forward in cloud native is multi-cluster. So it seems like with the cluster API is evidence of this. They're starting to deploy. They're starting to move in the direction of let's spin up clusters. Let's start thinking in terms of clusters, in terms of kind of like in terms of apps, right? And I talked about this at length yesterday about how that relates to my Jupyter Hub and Kubernetes deployment, which has things like daemon sets that I would never ever put in my major cluster for pre-pulling a bunch of Kubernetes images and stuff like that. So this is did I get it right, Taniwa? Because the movement is towards thinking about clusters as sort of applications, like they're kind of getting into this encapsulated mindset. Like we're going to start looking at Kubernetes clusters, kind of like how we used to look at containers in general for smaller things, right? And kind of like how we have pods. Like pods are a collection of containers, mostly just one. And now, the upper level of that is now we have clusters, but we're not having this massive cluster that we split across 5 providers. A hybrid cloud. So there are people that are still trying to do this, including the people within my company, and we have already hit latency issues. So yeah, federate, like, spread it that way, and then create, if you need to, create, systems for communicating between the two, but you're always going to have network latency. And when you federate, you kind of look at those network latencies kind of up front instead of doing what killed Corba. Corba. What killed Corba in the earlies, because Corba, hid all the latency behind. You have all these IDL interfaces. You couldn't even identify what things were communicating and what things were remote or anything. So if you federate and you approach your architecture by saying, okay, this is going to be broken all down, then you can start thinking about, okay, I have a few services that need to get data back and forth. Let's optimize those things. Let's look at those specific interfaces to the two things. It's just encapsulation at macro scale. That's all it is. It's encapsulation. Federation is just encapsulation at meta scale, rather than centralizing it. And that'll shut up the people that are criticizing Kubernetes, saying that it's just mainframe all over again. Because Kubernetes is starting to get cloud and cloud native is getting really, really attacked, it seems to me, from what I'm reading, by traditionalists who are like, no, it's actually, you're just making a mainframe all over again. I mean, you really are. You're making a mainframe, and these things are just processes, and gRPC is just communication, and you're basically making a herd kernel. for cloud. Corba, yeah, no, Corba was one of the many things. Corba was a low level thing, yeah. So I don't know if that's the best answer, but old dogs hate new tricks. They really do. So I'm old enough to be pretty cynical when I come into a new thing. I mean, I was like, what's up with all this complexity, Kubernetes? Do you really need that? And now I'm starting to believe it is. A mainframe with commodity hardware, no single points of failure, and runnable on demand in the cloud. Yeah. Yeah, tell me more. It's true, right? And you're gonna the cluster API stuff blew me the fuck away when I saw that you can change your infrastructure option and point it. You have to set some environment variables and a few things to get tokens right, but you can point your entire cluster deployment at a different provider. This is the thing that people have been saying. I don't know how many blogs that I've read that say stop thinking of Kubernetes from a CTO perspective as a way of reducing your dependency on a specific cloud provider. They said it's really about management of services, infrastructure, and blah 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 blah, because it was too complicated. And now Cluster API comes out, and it's like, okay, you have your whole thing deployed here. Okay, now flip it over here and deploy the whole thing. So all of those blogs and all those write-ups are completely done. All of those blogs and all of those pundits that are saying, don't think of you being able to migrate your cluster development across different boundaries to different cloud providers, because that's an anti-pattern. They're all wrong. And Cluster API is fucking proving it. If you federate properly, and instead of thinking in macro terms, if you federate properly and you use something like the Cluster API, you can redeploy to any target cloud you want to at any time. And that's the holy grail for CTOs. That's what they've been wanting to do. And there's been a lot of write-up against that. Yeah. Terraform infra. Yeah. So the Cluster API is directly going to reduce Terraform can either implement it, Kubespray and things like that. They can either implement the cloud API, the Cluster API, or they can decide, it's going to be interesting, because there's, the other thing too is that I can talk about this forever. So the thing I was just reading about this, the thing that blew me away is that, and it just didn't occur to me until I saw the machine as a service, to the metal as a service write-up, which the metal as a service write-up is somebody came along and said, in fact, I think it was Canonical. They said, we're going to deploy the cluster API requirements for, I think, a provider, right? So there's an entire interface. It's like a macro interface for a provider, right? And so they implemented the provider interface uh, for their hardware, right? So any of the cloud providers, they have to do all of that. This is why Docker has an API, same vision early on. Yeah, absolutely. So 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 what we're seeing now, we're gonna see hardware providers, and I imagine Oxide's on this. I would really love to peek behind the curtain at Oxide Computing. I bet you Oxide is already, if if Basecamp, is it Basecamp? What is it called? Is it Basecamp or Bootcamp? The Amazon one on site, the on-prem thing. All of these on-prem offerings are going to have to provide provider interfaces that link the hardware, the OS and the hardware to the cluster API. And that's gonna, then you won't get, nobody's gonna give a shit about the OS after that. Outposts, yeah, that's it. So yeah, these hardware providers are gonna be, there's gonna be a race. There's gonna be a race for people to implement. God, you want to make a crazy ton of money? Learn how to implement a hardware provider API in code. Learn how to write that shit, because that's going to have to be low level interfaces to the underlying operating system. So like that, I don't know if you get away with it all in Go, or you have to write it in C or something. I would really love. I wonder if the canonical. I wonder if the canonical provider code is open source. Red Hat's doing it too. They have their own. Tinkerbell, yeah, that's the one. So Project Pacific from VMware took a shot at this. Did they really? Yeah, vSphere is one of the cloud providers you can go with. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy, because it's just going to be, we are actually. I mean, I was belaboring the point that you can't. It sucks that our operating system, you fill your var logs and boom, your whole node dies. And you can't manage the infrastructure under the Kubernetes umbrella, and that's all going away. That's all going, because the cloud API specifically states, the cluster APIs team specifically states, it's not just about bringing stuff up, but it's about long-term maintenance of the underlying OS, which means that they're going to have things like watching the system logs and stuff like that, and making sure your underlying disk is good, and you don't have disk faults, or all the hardware things are going to start being Kubernetes processed. I'm telling you, the other thing too is we got to stop calling ourselves SREs, and you got to start calling yourself an infrastructure engineer / cloud native engineer, because they're meshing. They're coming together, people. They're coming together. Hardware and Kubernetes specifically are starting to mesh, and the idea that you can flip a switch, you can buy a computer, stick it in the rack, install a base OS on it without even, you can flash it if you want, but and then you can provision it however you want to after that. And Tinkerbell is from Equinix and is now in CNCF. Really? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's like the cutting edge of cloud native. I gotta tell you, if you're catching this excitement in my voice, it's because they're doing things that I dream. I finally I'm still super dangerous, but I'm starting to see the vision of what's going on for this turnkey IT infrastructure stuff, and it is fucking complicated, because it's basically turning the entire IT department infrastructure of a company into a single turnkey application. We're talking about serious turnkey like IT offerings, and it's just gonna be insane. We're coming to the day where you could say, "Oh, you want Elasticsearch? Okay, run apt install Elasticsearch. You're done." we're we're getting there. We're not there, right? But we're definitely getting there. Helm has got to get out of the way, and a number of other things have got to be improved. But the direction is definitely headed that way. So it's super exciting. It's actually going to be terrifying, because as soon as it gets this easy to deploy infrastructure, it just makes you wonder what's going to happen with all of the the energy that's been, and money that's been deployed to IT for so long. The end game of this, let's say 5 years out, maybe less. 5 years out, the end game of this is that the IT infrastructure is so easy to manage. It's like, it's not serverless, right? I don't like to say it, but it's almost IT-less. You know, I mean, even if it's on-prem, it's like it's kind of just there. It just works. And I don't know. I think that's just super exciting. But then what's going to happen with all that energy? I mean, where's it all going to go? Are people going to be making crypto after that or whatever? I mean, I think it's all going to go into machine learning, data science. I think all that energy is going to go into that, which is the next big thing after this. But this is probably not going to, yeah, this is probably not going to be, this is probably not going to get much. I mean, Kubernetes was a major maturation step, and that's still sort of maturing. But when the final version of this, the final form, if you will, of the Kubernetes Pokemon takes shape, that it's going to be, and when I'm talking about just Kubernetes, I'm talking about all the stuff around it. It would be fun to use a container cluster to test blockchain. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's this kind of shit is just blows my mind though. I mean, yeah. So for educational by itself, it's just phenomenally huge. I already talked about that. I won't divert on that anymore. All right. So I'm trying to get on to the kind. So as far as I know, the only way to get onto the host, so the equivalent of SSHing into a physical machine on which to set up your, stuff is to use Docker exec. And if anybody, I'm just going to repeat it again. All the people, I just want to apologize openly to all the people that I said, what? When they would say, why don't you just Docker exec into your endpoints instead of SSHing? You don't need SSH. Now, SSH is critical. Somebody asked me today, they said, why don't you have any videos on SSH? And now I'm even less motivated to make videos on SSH. When's the last time I don't use SSH? Occasionally, because of our dumbass setup at work, we have to use this login server. And so I have to SSH into that server. But if they did the architecture right, I wouldn't have to do that. I would just execing from my own system and do whatever I wanted. Yeah, it's almost like SSH is happening for you under the hood, but the number of times most people in IT are going to be typing SSH to do anything is really a lot less, other than git commits and stuff. SSH to dev systems to experiment. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, but see, I think you can do most of that locally. That's exactly what we have. But anyway, so there, I'm on. We don't want people to deploy though. Yeah, no, we don't. So control. So here I am. I'm in the control plane, and I'm logged in, and I have kubeadm. This is how I realized I was like happy. So kubeadm, check certs, certificates. It's certs. Check expiration. This, you don't have to do this. This is something that recently bit me. I did this yesterday because this command was unavailable to me in Minikube, and I couldn't go test it after I read all about it because I needed to learn about it because our certs expired even for etcd, even though they're not supposed to, because we did an external etcd instead of the default. So what's that? You run about a dozen containers on one PC, each with its own network address. Yes. Yep. You can do that. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what programmer Frank. That's exactly what this whole thing is about. And again, I created my first container last year. I wrote my first Docker file. I mean, if you've seen the workspace stuff, you can make. So what's happened is, I mean, containers started out just being applications, right? But you're starting to see people deploy containers. Like, watch, I can do Docker run it rm, and this is in the beginner boost, by the way. If you are interested at all in this stuff, so the 2021 beginner boost, the probably video, I'd say probably day 5 or 6 or 7, we go into this Docker ability to just run anything. And I mean, you can just run Alpine. See that? Now I'm running Alpine. I just created a container. It's a full Alpine system, and it's being hosted. It looks like I just logged into it, but it's not. It's right here. It gets crazier though because it's not even really. Yeah, it's insane. because they all have the same kernel. They all share the same kernel. That's why they don't have to. They're containers, but you can make them appear as if they're separate computers. And you can mount sockets and stuff for Docker, even use Docker inside of the thing you just loaded. That's what my whole workspace is. So when I make a new workspace like this is a new random workspace that gets thrown away later. If you want to see that, I can give that one to you. That's called um, that's my workspace Perl script that leverages all this stuff. This is for my Docker learning middle of last year. Um, uh, that just blew my mind. So thinking of an image as a machine uh, is fine. It's regularly done, and it's kind of interesting because the kind people are like, in one sense, the Docker people are like, stop making heavy containers, blah 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 blah. You're supposed to be lightweight, blah blah blah. It's like the best practice. And then along comes kind and Kubernetes, and they're like, no, we're gonna make machines out of these containers essentially, and they put everything in there without any qualms about it. So I actually use a workspace container like this at work from WSL to on my from Docker on my Windows machine in order to work. And I have to update my image. But anytime I need to update it, I just pull it down. I could go to any computer anywhere and have my exact working environment just with one Docker command. It's just crazy. I don't even have to install anything but Docker. Yeah. So then things are a little easier. But unfortunately, I've tried to deal with Windows containers, server core. Oh my God, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with that. Frankly, I don't need to. Thank God. As an infrastructure engineer for cloud native, I don't have to ever deal with Windows or Mac except for as a user, if I'm forced to do so, which my job does. Other than that, I don't even have to think about it. And and that's so strong of a direction that Microsoft themselves, Azure is 70% Linux. This is why Microsoft released their own version of Linux finally, which is just crazy. It's just crazy. So Linux 1, which is also why, by the way, if you're a beginner watching this, you need to learn Linux. And I'm not talking about like which desktop manager. I'm talking about the terminal-based Linux operating system that is running on all these servers. And that means installing it on your hardware eventually, or testing it out in a VM, and first learning Docker, all the stuff that it's in the boost. All of that stuff I just talked about is all covered in the 2021 boost videos. So if you go to RWX Rob on GitHub and click on /boost, and then follow the videos for 2021, that will take you all the way up through networking, and where I just kind of petered out because I realized it was just too big a topic. So, and then I started writing the boost concept. So, all right, I'm super excited about this. Attempting to use the standard OS images for nodes of kind. Okay, so let's try that. So let me get back on the system. So the goal was to get on the system. So I'm going to Docker exec into my node. And I know that sounds weird, but don't even try to do anything with Kubernetes until you fully understand Docker and Docker files. I'm not talking about Docker Compose. So let's do that. Exec it, what is it? The kind control plane. And this, I wish they would put dashes there. It would make me feel more comfortable. What's the users on here? No VI. Is there an ed over here? Watch there not be ed over here either. Because it's all mounted, I don't need it. I want to see, no ed either. It's all cat, baby. This is, everybody was telling me, no, there's not VI. VI is not standard anymore. This is why. It's not needed. Look at all these user accounts. Holy shit. Yeah, it made a bunch of, it's systemd. What is it? What OS is this? Was it Etsy LSB release? It's not, it's got to be Alpine then. Getting Linux, can control plane. Stelis LA. Huh. No, that's actually minimalist. It looks like Ubuntu. I'm gonna guess it's some version of Ubuntu. Yep. All right. So actually, probably Debian. No, probably Ubuntu. How can I tell? How can I tell if it's Ubuntu? How can I tell Ubuntu from Debian? I did uname. It's right here. But it doesn't give you that. Oh, derp. There it is. I just missed it. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, it's Ubuntu for sure. All right, so that's interesting because I thought Ubuntu said they weren't going to cover they were going to stop covering their small version, but the repo's loaded. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So yeah, definitely apt apt install vim tiny. Is it dash tiny? Nope. Apt update. I'm just trying to see how small this thing actually is. I'm not doing all of that stuff. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm just doing it just to be fast. See, another reason to learn all of this, I'm convinced that apt has got to be, Ubuntu is the first thing you should learn now. I was going to make Red Hat nodes, and I think I might still do that because my environment is using Red Hat. So reasons, you know. Yep, there we go. All right, so I mean, this is everything I need. It's good. I've checked everything I need. I can get off of that. I can leave that control plane running. I cannot add a new. Oh, you did? You met Mark Shuttleworth? Nice. That's Mr. Docker, right? So, very controversial figure, unfortunately. Yeah. We know that kind so far. Oh, is he Ubuntu? Oh, Shuttleworth, right. I'm sorry, I mixed him up with what's his face. Yeah, Mr. Everybody said you're not going to make Ubuntu. You're not going to make Linux on the desktop anymore. Watch me. Yeah, yeah, he's an intense guy. You need to be intense to be in that industry. Particularly fighting against both business people and intense Linux people. Solomon Hikes, yes. Thank you for the names. I don't know the VIP names in Cloud Native space. He's Mr. Docker. Solomon Hikes, yeah. That's I as soon as you said it, I knew it. So we discovered, so in terms of training, we discovered yesterday that you cannot add a node to a kind cluster after the fact. I'm actually wondering if I could get away with creating a new image that's running as a node and then put the stuff on there. Wow, that's crazy. Fun times. Used to go to visit companies together with Solomon Hikes to convince them to add Docker to CI/CD. That sounds like me in the early times in Utah trying to convince WordPerfect to get on the internet. Why would we do that? It's just military and teachers. There's no reason to do it. We're selling them T1 connections or frame relay. I was working at FiberNet. I wish I would give so much money to have those conversations recorded. We actually went to Novell and they said, "Why would it be on the internet?" I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of here. Get me to Oregon, and then I moved to Oregon, which I understand you're going to visit like tomorrow or in a week. All right. I am so excited about the possibilities here. So one of the possibilities that's caused my brain to pause right there is, who says I can't just fire up another image in Docker, make sure it's running in the same network space, install kubeadm and all the stuff on it, and practice my own, stuff to get a node to work as if it were an actual computer without being an actual computer. See what I'm saying? So we know that if I already know from the research that if you do the node stuff, you're going to get the right thing, right? But I guess the question I'm asking is, do I have to take down an entire kind cluster and then change the YAML file and put the nodes in there and then bring the cluster up with the nodes in the configuration file? Or is there anything stopping me from kind of doing that as I go, kind of like onesie, two? And I don't see why there wouldn't be, right? I should be able to go onto the cluster, run kite-adbm, and bring it into the cluster using the traditional methods. The only thing difference between this and doing it with hardware is that the machine that I'm running is a Docker image in the same network. And so setting up all that network and stuff, I'm going to try this. So I have a single node cluster running right now. I mean, this would be immensely useful if I can figure this out. I mean, I already know that I can pull an image in using the kind config if I want to have those done. But I want to go through the exercise of doing the node setup, right? So let's say, so right now I have, well, I tell you what, let's back up a bit. Let's inspect. So let's first of all do it the way kind wants you to do it, by providing a base image or something. Actually, we can just give it, say I want an extra node, and we don't even have to say what image it is, I'm pretty sure. And then we can go see what it does to Docker. Does it add new containers into Docker that we can exec into? And if so, we can go onto those things and kind of study them. You can just set up an API token to join a new node. No, I've never done that, Akron. How does I say that, Archon? I've never done what you're suggesting. I've never set up an API token and had a new node to join. I've never ever done it in my life. So I'm just trying to set up as close as possible to an emulated environment, to the real thing, to do that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you can. So, but I think one of the ways to learn about how to do this is to see how kind does it first, and then go back from that and do it that. So I'm actually going to try this with a kind cluster. I'm going to go fire up another one. Kind clusters are almost zero cost to your environment because they're all containers. There's not a ton of like RAM and CPU getting written off and stuff like that. So it's not that bad. I can do kind create and kind create cluster, and then you need to give it a name. And I don't remember the thing. I think it's dash name, right? Name, and I'm gonna say actually no. I want to see kind create -h image node Docker image to use for booting a cluster. I want to say that I want more than one. Let's see. Ooh, look at this. Retain nodes for debugging when cluster creation fails. Ooh. Cluster name overrides the client cluster name config default. Wait duration, verbosity. So what I want to know is, I'm pretty sure you can put from the command line something that gives you more than one node. And I don't remember them. Yeah, I'm going to go over here, quick start. So I have to, it's so funny because I have to go back. I read all of this docs like 3 months ago, and then I went through a full cycle to come back to it. Bootstrap Kubernetes using pre-built node image. Pre-built images are hosted on kindness node to be able to find image suited for a given current release. You could check release notes. Nice. Image flag. If you want another image, building images, we talk about that. Wait. To use wait. Okay. To block until the control plane reaches this ready status, you can use wait. More issues will be discovered. Kind create cluster help. Okay. Interactive cluster. Creating a cluster. Configuration file kind, yes. Kubectl create cluster, default cluster, name kind 2. Get clusters. Okay, cluster info. There's deleting, yeah. Loading an image to your cluster. We know about this. What? Docker images can be loaded into your cluster nodes with this. Okay, we went through all through this. We thought it was something else. It's not. This puts the Docker node image into the CRI compatible container or whatever inside of your node, and this puts it into one node if you only got the one node. What I'm trying to do is I want to add a new node. I want to tell it how many nodes I want. So Docker exec. You can get a list of images present on a cluster node by using Docker exec. Oh, ooh. Shit, I didn't look at this before. That's so cool. It's funny because I understand it better. Yeah, kind load, like Docker load. Yeah. Or my question, how's it going, Pardon Senor? Learn Kubernetes instead of Docker Compose. I'm gonna let people in the chat explain that. You can look people. QMacro, for example, disagrees with me. He thinks you should learn Docker Compose to inform your education about Kubernetes. I think it's a waste of time, especially now that there's clusterctl. So I think you should just learn. I think Docker Compose is a waste of time. I honestly, I don't see any need for it whatsoever. The option to set node count was in cluster API. Was it? I know that Kind has one as well. I know. I don't know if I have to put it in the configuration file or not. And I know that you can pass configuration files settings from the command line. I just have to remember how to do that in Kind. It's a different thing. Compose is just a way of deployment. Absolutely. Archon, I agree with that. And it sounds like you have more experience than me. So thank you for chiming in. One resume chick to get an amazing job. Punchline, add Kubernetes. That's true. Docker Swarm. No. It's simpler though, but yeah. Setting for Docker Desktop. They keep pushing Docker Desktop. Tell you what, you're gonna have to if keep your ears on during KubeCon. If I want to hear if anybody talks about the move to enterprise billing and the non-FOSS Docker Desktop issue. PC specs. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's in my FAQ, but it doesn't matter. Oh, whoops. How's that? Is that enough? There you go. I have to figure out how to get rid of my tearing. I actually read some stuff when I play Witcher. I'm going to try that tonight, maybe. It'll be in the hallway track. Yeah, I'm really interested in the hallway track, the discussion about, because what are some people supposed to do? Pay the money and use it. I don't want to use Docker Desktop, period. I want to remove it from my dependency tree because I don't like depending on that proprietary software as that part of it. Podman to move away from Docker Desktop. Yeah, but that assumes you have Linux, right? So what do you do if you have Mac or Windows and your company won't let you do anything else? And you're going to say use WSL2. And if you use WSL2, then you can't, to install Docker within WSL2 is a pain in the ass. I wonder what Podman installation into WSL2 is like. Yeah, it depends on the Podman chain. Yep. I'm talking from an end user perspective. If you're forced to use Windows, you know what, fucking forget it. I keep trying to make excuses for the company that I work for that's forcing me to use Windows. If you're hiring a cloud native infrastructure engineer with multiple decades of Linux experience and you force them to use Windows, you're doing it wrong. The whole reason that you're doing cloud native is to add efficiencies to your system and everything. And if you're forcing your infrastructure people to run Windows and can't use WSL2 because the VPN AnyConnect is busted without significant script here and running your own OpenConnect or whatever, there's like a million fucking workarounds that are all questionable. The reason I keep coming back to this is I want to help beginners understand the first step, and the first step right now is install Docker Desktop, and that's proprietary. So what do you do instead? And so far everybody says to install Minikube, which gives you all the same stuff. And the problem is that Minikube requires that you limit your Docker to however many VM cores that you give it and everything like that, which is not the same as Docker Desktop. If you do Minikube plus Kind plus kubectl, you're going to be fucked because everything's going to be limited to the resources you assign to Minikube as a VM. Whereas if you do the whole thing I'm just doing right now under Kind in Docker Desktop, is completely unlimited. It's like it has unlimited access to all the resources of your host OS, which is probably why most seasoned veterans love Kind over Minikube. But one of the reasons I liked Minikube is it was providing a bunch of other insights and it was cordoning off things and stuff like that. And it always kind of bothered me is this idea of this kind of bloat, right? So I don't know what to tell beginners. I'm still stuck. Right now I'm telling them to use Docker Desktop. What's the alternative? Let's say do Podman, just use Docker, just install Docker Direct on Linux, on WSL2. You can do that. It's a lot harder though, by the way. Yeah. But then WSL2 is broken. I mean, the bottom line, Docker CE. I don't think there is a Docker CE that will run on. Hey Nate, thanks for giving that out. I appreciate that. I don't think there is a Docker CE for Windows. Is there? Can somebody find me a link to that? Docker Desktop still best beginner experience. Okay, I agree. And so this is my new position. I'm going to keep recommending Docker Desktop as a temporary measure until they get off Windows. And as fast as possible, I'm going to have them get access to Linux. That's what I'm going to do for beginners. And then if they go into a corporate environment where they say, I'm sorry, you can only use Windows. I mean, you can only use Windows. Then I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, you're fucked. You have to decide to use Docker Desktop illegally, or engine install Ubuntu. Yeah, but we're not going to install it on Ubuntu. We're going to install it on Windows with WSL2. The craziest thing of all about all of this shit that I've learned at work, and I'm just going to say it really quickly because it's insane. So the craziest thing I've learned about this Windows only environment with a VPN, that's the real catcher right there. WSL2 does not work with the Cisco AnyConnect VPN, period. It does not work with it out of the box. You can't use it. It won't connect your VPN. You won't be able to do it. You have to do all kinds, and there's huge tickets and issues open on this issue. And all of the workarounds are not beginner workarounds. So what's your option? Here's the crazy ass thing that I discovered, totally ass backwards. I just kind of fell into it. If you run Docker Desktop, different network subsystem. Yeah, you got it. If you run a WSL2 accelerated Docker Desktop, doing installing the MSI from Docker, it works. And you can turn your VPN and it works. Why? Because it's running in the network space of the host OS. Docker Desktop is running in the network space of the host OS. So that means any of the VPN routing rules apply to it as an application. And when you run stuff under that application, it automatically sees all the routing and it does all the right things. So free cloud instances, that's not a possibility. Also VPN, validate the NV to avoid split tunnels. Yeah. So, and there's really not going to be they technically can bridge Docker, but don't by policy. Yeah. So the solution that works for everyone right now is Docker Desktop until they break it. And they did. They broke Docker Desktop on me with an official release. And that was a major deal. I was down. I couldn't work for like 3 days. So pissed off about that. Everybody's like, just SSH into the login machine and do all your work there. And I was like, they have Vim 7.0. It's like, well, it's not our problem. Just use putty. Like, what the fuck? Seriously. That was the funniest thing too, because now all the people that I told that to are gone. The one main one though. They said, just use putty. And I said, I'll quit before I use putty on this job. And I was not kidding. I was not kidding. I was like, seriously. I mean, who's using putty in 2021? I mean, honestly, who the fuck is using putty in 2021? Nobody's using putty. A lot of people like putty. There's like a million reasons not to use putty. It's just so many reasons not to. Just use Play-Doh. Oh, God. Is there something better than putty out there? No. The problem with putty is that you're fundamentally dependent on an SSH connection. What happens if your VPN goes down? Uh-oh. You better make sure that you're using a multiplexer on your login server. Oh, wait, they don't have one installed. There's not Screen's not installed and Tmux is not installed on their fucking login servers. Dude, it's just a disaster. I am like, look, I love my job, but the shit that has been set up is ancient. It's like 3 decades old. And yet we're supposed to be, supporting this high performance machine learning cluster, all edgy stuff like that. And like, they have like Vim 7 installed on the server. They have no tmux. I actually compiled my own tmux and put it over there. And my buddy was like, "Oh, can I please have that binary? You got to let me have that." That was so funny. It was so funny. Oh, it's just so fucking, whatever. It's not going to fix anything complaining about. So let me get my next thing. So I think what you're right about. We could probably bring up another image, but I'm going to go ahead and take this one down. Kind delete cluster. Cluster. So I'm just practicing with the cluster. You see how fast that was, by the way? It's crazy, huh? So I want to see I have to have the latest version of kind version. I want to make sure I have the latest. Which kind? I think I have an installer. I need to get the latest actually, because I saw last time I ran a new one and it told me I was out of date. This is not something you can run. Exec go. Okay. Install kind. Downloading. What? I guess I do have the latest. I guess I do. How's it going, Risk XY? Why do I recommend Mac ML1, Windows 10 for university student new to coding? Mac all the way. But I can't buy it for 5 years. I would get the MacBook M1 if you can afford it. If it has a decent keyboard. Does it have a good keyboard? Yeah, I would look. God knows I don't like Apple. But if you're talking about, here's why. You automatically have the world's most powerful, system. Plus you have a really, really strong command line, even though it is not Linux. But there's a lot more people that are in container development. There's kind of a subtext in all the stuff you read about doing container stuff. And every once in a while they'll kind of expose themselves. And a lot of the container people are Mac people also. And I have a Mac. I have a MacBook Pro. I need to get it. It's got one of those fucking class action lawsuit keyboards on it that's all ruined now. $3,000 computer, completely useless. Watch movies on it. I fucking hate it. But from Apple, they are good. So yeah, the only problem with the M1 is, God, I don't know. I might have to take that recommendation back. I don't know if you're going to be able to run all the containers on the M1. Somebody talk. That's interesting. Because in fact, I just read last week, I read someplace that the M1 finally has container support for Docker. Or something like that. It was either Docker or Kubernetes. I can't remember. It was behind the Apple dev tool chain, was a major dev in GCC. Interesting. Yeah. Well, So the problem I don't know. I'm kind of rethinking this recommendation here. I mean, if you're going to get into the container space, you're not going to have nearly the containers that you need. Somebody needs to get on an M1 and test that out for me, and test that out and see if they can actually run, like, I don't know, some obscure, like some Kali Linux image with an M1. And M1 with Linux will do it, because Linux, the C groups and everything are encapsulating away all that stuff, so the containers will work. Don't containers? Ugh. You can't run an M1 with Linux. Oh, no, that was it. Yeah, Linux. Yeah, no, Linux. That's it. Thank you for the reminder. Official Linux support for the M1 came out last week. Yeah, that's what came out. Yes, VirtualBox. They work on the M1. VMware. I don't know if I would use either of those. I mean, it's a powerful machine, but I don't want to slow it down with VirtualBox. What I want to know is can you just use the container? You can't actually. I don't know. I'm confused. Someone answer this for me? Does the container engine on an M1? Because you can run Docker direct on Mac, right? Without the hypervisor. What I want to know is what's the equivalent of the hypervisor on a Mac? The Mac comes with its own built-in hypervisor, right? I think Mac comes with a built-in hypervisor. Docker Desktop on M1 works. Yes, I'm pretty sure it does too. But I think the reason it works is because Mac comes with a built-in hypervisor type 2. Type 1 or 2? Type 2. 1. Type 1 hypervisor. The hardware one. I read that somewhere. Someone needs to confirm that for me. If anyone's interested, Humble Bundle is currently offering 15 O'Reilly books on cloud infrastructure. Yeah. That's cool. They're using something else. Yeah. But the point, this is why I'm confused, because the Mac M1 kernel is BSD, and it does not have C groups. True or false? The M1, the BSD kernel has C groups, right? It doesn't. It has its own. Was it spaces or something? So the BSD Unix stuff has, but it. So what I want to know is how does Docker Desktop on Mac implement containers? And I'm almost positive it's using a built-in hypervisor in order to run a Linux container engine that is kind of the parent of all the other ones. So because otherwise you can't have containers. If that's true, then the fact that you have containers, there's not going to be M1 specific containers probably, right? Because you're running under a hypervisor or a VM or something. In other words, if you're using an M1 with Docker Desktop, can you run containers that have, from scratch containers that have compiled programs for x86 or, AMD 64? Yeah. Open a new tab. Docker Desktop for Mac on Apple Silicon is now available as a GA release. This enables you to develop applications of your choice with local development environments and extensive development pipelines for ARM-based applications. Shit. Oh my God. If I'm understanding this correctly, it can do x86 and ARM. Fuck. Oh my God, this might be the new preferred device. Shit, that just gave me butterflies. So the answer is hell yeah, get a Mac with an M1. I'm not understanding it right, says Jenny. Well, I don't know how it's doing the hypervisor. It's doing it under emulation. The bottom line is, can you run containers, ARM-based containers? Yes. I figured you could do ARM-based containers on M1. But can you run x86-based containers on an M1 through Docker Desktop? It says so right there. The answer is yes. It says so. It does so through emulation, though. Complex cross-compilation development environment. Additionally, you can use Rosetta to run x86. I don't know what it's doing, but this just made a Mac M1 the preferred development tool. I'm gonna have to sell mine and get one now. Shit, I can't believe that. Do you know what that means? Nothing like that exists for Windows, or does it? At least not by default. Okay, so if you're a beginner, you're trying to decide what desktop to get, right? You don't want Linux on M1 Pro. You can run it. That just got Kimu runs on Windows, yeah. But you have to set it up. So what I'm trying to decide is, what is the least path of resistance? Yeah, you tell me about using Kimu for everything. That's really cool. Docker BuildX. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, but you couldn't test it. To me, okay, so this is kind of a no-brainer at this point for me. Because M1 is the silicon, that means they're already running on ARM. And because they're already running on ARM, they're automatically going to have better ARM implementations for everything. Because Docker Desktop or whatever is just going to have to pass through to do that kind of shit. Right? Because it's the base OS. So if they've figured out how to do emulation through Rosetta or whatever you have, that means you can still run all the containers for x86 without severe penalty, I imagine. So you can do all your, the bottom line is you can do container development for x86 and for ARM by just installing Docker Desktop. Yeah. You must install Rosetta 2. There it says right there. Some buyers are still Darwin AMD 64. To install Rosetta 2 manually from the command line, run the blob. Known issues. Not all images are available for ARM64. You can add platform Linux AMD. So let's ask the question again. What about Spark development? Why not? It reminds me of Dennis. So let's open the question again. So we had a college student ask whether they should get an Apple Pro M1 or they should get a Windows machine for school based on preparations for cloud native development and usage. That's the bottom line question. And that is a phenomenally good question. Pardon my big Indian. Name myself last miles to start a channel. How Dennis would think that's funny. No. So someone tested. It looks like ARM and AMD 64 containers work like the Alpine container or even VS Code. Really? Huh. iPad plus DigitalOcean unlimited subscription. No, bite your tongue. Bite your green tongue. So what's the answer? Should you get Mac or Windows? What do you guys think? My answer is always Linux. I mean, honestly, we had this is a true story. This is a fun true story. I should actually record this. So one of the people that I mentored at 15 got accepted into America's most elite science and tech prep school. They have actually, I kid you not, they actually have astronauts call into their classroom. This is it's the North Carolina School of Science and Technology. It's a really elite thing, and you go there and live there like Harry Potter, like Hogwarts and stuff. And he got admitted. I've had half dozen people admitted to it, and help him write their applications for it and everything. And this one guy. They all come to the schools. This is crazy. I love doing this to schools, particularly that school. So this is supposed to be an elite science school. I mean, like really elite, science and math specifically. And and all of my people, of course, all of my guys, they were all guys. They were male. I had women, but they weren't as compelled to come here. Although I did have some kick-ass. One of them actually. God, I wonder what she's doing now. I should go ask. She was with me since 14. She's doing crazy, amazing things. She ran all of the computer clubs and all of her schools and everything. Anyway, so they all go into these places with Linux on their laptop, and it just confuses the shit out of the teachers every time. I'm not bagging on the teachers. It is just so wonderful. So. I was reminded of this story because Windows is cheaper. Yeah, I agree, Frank. I think they should so this is kind of, my story is kind of related to your suggestion. My suggestion to any college student is to buy, splurge and spend, $1,000 on a laptop and put Linux on it. Fine, right? And then if you want to do gaming, don't do that on your laptop. That's stupid. Don't burn out your laptop by forcing it to be like 12 pounds, some fucking alien shit that's got a huge battery. It's not going to last anyway. Buy yourself an MSI gaming system for $900. Keep it in your dorm room. Fix it in a backpack if you want a LAN party. Do that. I'm going to make a video about this. Right now. So, and I'm going to include my story. Oh, I can't because I'm making a video already. Damn it. I'm supposed to be doing installation. I'm off track. You guys are getting me off track. I got to get back on track. Moral of the story. So all of my guys, but this one particular story, than the actual product. Inception videos. Don't get a laptop and use the labs. No, God, no. Why would you dare suggest such a thing? So he brought his Linux machine in and couldn't use it. I mean, we're talking. He went to like his physics professor, his computer science professors at this elite science and technology school in North Carolina, and they're like, and he tries to connect to the Wi-Fi and it says, "I'm sorry, your operating system is banned from our network." They had a proactive ban on Linux built into their Wi-Fi network. I about lost my shit. I about lost my shit. I was like so upset that this, because I had helped prepare him for the school and everything, and I kind of went I went off where I didn't, just to him. I didn't go off to anybody specifically, but I told him, and I said, and then but his mom was on it. Every once in a while, you want a mom like he had, and she was awesome, 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 awesome. She was a great parent at every level, and and so he went back and he talked to the people. He went, "Hey, it's a science school. Why aren't you allowing Linux? Thinking on Linux." And because of him, this school started allowing Linux to be within their school. Linux equals hacker. Exactly. I told you about the other kid who pulled up a terminal on his Mac and got sent to the principal's office for hacking. True story. He was just using VI to edit a file, and he got sent. That actually happened. Whitman. Oh God, it's so much fun. Sarcasm. Go off on some. Rob, go off on something. I mean, come on. They legitimately blocked Linux at a science and tech school. So thank God, because of this, he was able to say, "I'm going to think," and he didn't even dual boot it. I set him up with a dual boot if he wanted to, because gaming and stuff. But I don't recommend that usually. Honestly, that's why I want to make a video about this. If you're going off to college and you're already in college or whatever, and you're asking for stuff for Christmas or something, get yourself a gaming rig and then get yourself a Linux laptop and do that for the notes and everything. And put Windows on your gaming rig for those few moments where you have to have Windows, right? Any college that requires you to have Windows to run an application should be immediately eliminated from your list of possible places to go. Schools run by uneducated fools. I am shocked. Well, I didn't say it that way, but it's not their own fault. They can't keep up, man. Just get a Stadia account. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can get behind that recommendation. I haven't tried it. Anyway, attempt to use a standard almost image with kind. I still don't know how to add another image with kind, so I got to go read, which I put on my list of requirements, by the way. Read and speak English. I went off on you got to speak English. One of the best VI powered games. Stream. You can definitely stream your games. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but if you have Steam in particular, it's super easy. Yeah, I play games all the time doing that. I used to do that because we have the family thing where you share, right? Vim Tutor. I played through AC Valhalla with it. It worked well on my 1.5 gigabit connection. Shit. That's nice. All right. Where's my Chrome? Okay, so Docker Silicon is a thing. I'm going to come back to that. I mean, I get that question all the time. What should I get? Should I get a Windows or a Mac? But, I tell you the truth. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a part of me is like intrigued by this whole M1 idea of like making it easier to develop for ARM, because ARM is a future. You can develop for ARM on Windows, right? We're using BuildX and other things like that. I don't know about those things, so I want to look into that at some point. You have the power of a 1000 T1 connections. Oh, geez. You're pretty scary. You're scaring me. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Kind. So we did all this. We did all the quick start stuff. I don't need controller manager anymore. Google Glass. Google Glass plus Google Cloud equals the future of software development. I still feel like Apple builds quality, form factor, and their hardware is worth a fair amount of money. I do too. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't know if it's worth the money they charge, and I fucking hate Apple as a company with their, the one thing that they're not going to fix is the battery. They'll make sure that dies really fast, even though all the other hardware is fantastic. At least they got caught doing that. They got caught. They got caught. They had to admit it on their iPhone. That whole shebang that happened. That was crazy ass stuff. Thanks for Docker Desktop. I love Apple and buy only Apple hardware. Yeah. Well, I mean, Apple makes good stuff, but I don't know. I had such a hard lemma for me. Notwithstanding, dude, I have systems where the battery died prematurely and they got caught. I'll go find it for you. It was a long time ago on the iPhone. On the iPhone, they got caught draining the battery on purpose. Mm-hmm. To cause people to upgrade. They got caught doing that shit. They did. Okay. Yeah. Intel's making RISC-V now. I know, and that's super. We knew that was coming. Dennis is so excited about that. I wish we could find him to hear what he has to say about that. He's been preparing for the RISC-V stuff for a long time. Yeah, he's been doing that. He has, and I don't know. That's an interesting question. The thing I'm interested the most in is how all of this is going to impact cloud native stuff, because are we going to continue to emulate C groups and shit like that, or is there going to be some layer of compatibility between all the chipsets for containerization? And that's what I find interesting. Paying lizard people to sell AirPods. All right, so Docker resource limits. What the hell is this? Now to advance. What? I didn't know you could do this. Stop memory. Limit the resource of Docker engine. Huh? I don't know. I've never done that. I probably should. To change resource limits with Docker on Windows, you need to right-click the Mobi icon taskbar. I've never done this. I've just used the default. I imagine I could do this on. Yeah, I imagine you can do this on Docker as I have it installed. I should probably look at that at some point. Wait, what? Hyper-V virtual disk hard drives. It is using, okay, Mobi. It's using, okay, that's, all right. All right. So it is using a VM. I think you were talking about that, right? I think you were talking about, they were preemptively limiting the power to increase battery life. There was no consent or information about the practice. Aha. Okay. Possibly true. Create cluster config. Okay, yeah. There we go. This is what I need. I need nodes. See, I don't want to have multiple nodes. I want to have, I guess this is what I do want to have. I want to see if I can do this without doing it this way, though. Control plane worker. API version, mapping ports host machine. Yes, I've done that. Ingress. You may want to see ingress guide, load balancer guide. Worker. There you can give your own worker. Okay. Enable feature gates in your cluster. No. If you're kind of use a proxy, no. Kind of export logs. No. All right. So yeah. I'm going to steal this one right here and just give it a test, because I want to see what it does with the worker. And we talked about what I'm doing on this. So this is not a Kubernetes anything. This is a different thing entirely. Wait, what am I trying to CD into? Okay. I mean, Kubernetes. All right, we're going to kind cluster, control plane. Kind create cluster. What is it? Is it config? Is there a short form of config? Probably not. Yes, config. That's new. The new equal sign thing. I'm pretty sure that's a change to the to Cobra. So, oh God. Birds aren't real. They're surveillance drones and cockroaches. Destiel VI. This is the only way. This is why we should all be using Komodo Code Editor. Okay. All right. If you say so. Because lizards. There's a van in the Midwest that hit the meme circuit. Oh my God. I'm scared. Config temp foo.yaml. All right, let's see what you got for me, kind. Preparing 3 little pretty nodes. Look at 1, 2, 3. Starting up the control plane. And we're going to have a peek at it. We're going to do Docker. We're going to do Docker ls to see how many actual nodes we have. This got to be so confusing to beginners. They're like, wait, isn't a node supposed to be on a machine? Yeah, but now it's a container. Like, but I thought the containers were supposed to be on the machines. Yeah. It's got to be so fucking confusing for beginners. I'm just saying. Oh, look at this. Joining worker nodes. So the worker nodes are tractoring their work. That's so yesterday. Oh. So now, I mean, think of this for a second. Kubernetes is running inside a container. I mean, think about that statement for a second. So Kubernetes is supposed to be a container orchestration framework, whatever. And now we have the whole of Kubernetes running within a single container itself. It's just like, oh my God. It's like Men in Black. That scene where they're scaling out and stuff. And running inside a copy of Minecraft. Exactly. It's all containers. It's just all containers. It's all containers. Ooh, it's magic. It's all containers. Just embrace the container. It's turtles and containers and whatever. It's all C groups. Yeah, it's turtles. That is. Yeah. Thank God for Linux, huh? So Docker ls or ps. And now look, we have multiple nodes. Okay, this is already informative. This says that the exact same node image is used for both the master node. So this is essentially the master node. The control plane is the master node / control plane, and the worker nodes. And that means that the worker nodes have already been, can a container run inside a copy of itself? Hell yeah. People do it all the time. Or can it? I don't know. That's like Inception all the way. I mean, this is getting really freaky. This is kind of magic. Just for people. Okay, so how do I learn Kubernetes? Install Docker. Okay. Then what? Then you install your entire Kubernetes framework engine inside of Kind, which is a container. Wait, I thought Kubernetes was for managing containers. Yes. So I'm going to install Kubernetes inside a container to manage containers, practice managing containers. Yes. Well, how do I make other containers? You'll have containers inside of your Kubernetes cluster that are other containers inside of the container that's containing your Kubernetes. and then they're doing this. They're doing. And then they get it working. I just have to check my mind. It's like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's fun, but it's totally crazy. I mean, you think about it. Yeah. Do you still have God now? I think I do.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Is that the same one? I have a couple of them, actually.
No! God, please, no! No!
Or shut the fuck up. I do have shut the fuck up. I think we do have that.
You need to shut the fuck up.
I need to start playing that one
You
more.
need to shut the fuck up.
I need to start playing that one when it's appropriate. I didn't say it. Penn said it. Penn Jillette said that. I am not a mean person. But Penn Jillette, you know. Look, I'm not the meme daddy here. Oh. That's a Silicon Valley thing. All right, so wait, kind. Is there like info or something? There's really nothing, man. There's nothing. It's like, that's the thing. There's really not a lot. Get nodes. Hey, look, I got nodes. I got nodes. What if I do this node? I got nodes. They're multiplying. Oh my God, Rob. And I'm losing control. I don't know what's happening. Can run a kind container inside your Kubernetes. You absolutely can. So you can run a kind container inside your Kubernetes, running inside of kind. You can do it. You can run a VM inside of all of that. You can run a virtual machine inside of all of that. So it's getting pretty crazy here. I'll remove the Alpine image there for a second. And I need to remove the quick start, copy quick start. YAML. I don't know what that was all about. Oh yeah, this is another thing I was doing. All right, so what are we doing? Docker. Yeah, so I am going to log into one of the workers for a second and see what's up there. I mean, it's going to be the same thing, right? But I want to see what the running processes are. What does a worker look like when it's working? And what network is it on? All of that kind of jazz. I wonder if I can do a net shoot. Oh, this will be interesting. This will be interesting. And see if this pulls it off. It is. It worked. Holy shit. My net shoot worked. It's my Kubernetes, my kind cluster. You woke up to a failing SSD. Oh, living in the middle of nowhere. I had to shop around at big chain stores. Oh my God. I finally found one at Staples. Good price. Oh, I feel the pain. For selling hosted Kubernetes. You could run a kind container inside of Kubernetes. You could sell hosted Kubernetes. Yes. Especially you can pass through virtual nodes so that your sub Kubernetes runs containers in ACS, ECS. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all possible. So, this is me logged into a system. The only reason I'm here is because I want to do, Jenny's going to say something because she called me an old man last time I used ifconfig. And I took it personally. Okay, old man. She's the only one who can call me that. Well, one of the only ones. Are you still here? We need to VIP her if she hasn't been already. Yeah, she's VIP. So this is what's up. Wow, look at all those things. Anyway, so IPA. So this is what's on this node machine. Dig. Yep. Dig actually has a JSON interface. I found out like last month. No, IP. Sorry. I take it all back. IPA-J. Is it JSON? Fuck. What is it? What is it? It doesn't have completion, so. Damn it. It's there, -J. Yeah. IP-J. IP-J. A. There we go. You see that? Is JQ over here? Oh, it is. Of course it is. The people who made NetShoot are not dumb. Okay, more of that. So there we go. So if you want to see your exact thing, you can. Kind of cool. For project manager class, we had to set up a voice over IP in a client server. You found a Docker image with a Linux distro that wraps asterisks like a cheat. Yeah, I know. That's how I did dual streaming. I found this really crappy Nginx dual streaming setup and ran it, and it totally worked. I was like, I don't care. And I got rabbit hole down trying to like fix it and everything. I'm like, no, I don't need it. I especially don't need it now since I'm not dual streaming anymore. Sorry, YouTube. Scary should have been YAML. Yeah, the problem is there's no good YAML library. The Go one sucks. It's horrible. External DB and service that backs up. I think the Kubernetes YAML one might be better. It'd be interesting to see. No, it's not. I remember it uses the same one, actually. No, it's the YQ tool that sucks. The YAML library is pretty decent. The YQ tool actually is abysmally bad. It's so bad. SX DB service to back up the DB to S3. Ooh. Yeah. As a YAML programmer, I demand YAML. We gotta get Igni on here to talk about it. The guy who made YAML. He's a friend of a friend. You know Greg Arcacia, who talks all the time? You know Greg underscore R, I can't say his name wrong, ARCARA. He comes in here and throws shit every once in a while. He's a good friend of mine. He was taught how to do Linux while at HP by Igni, pair programming with Igni for a year or more. He's one of Igni's best friends. Yeah. So the guy who invented YAML, and he it's so funny because he keeps trying to call him to do pair programming projects and everything. I was like, man, we need to get him in here and talk. The guy's a genius. He's just absolute off the chart genius. The kind of person who would never stream, by the way. He's just super smart and wants to make shit. So anyway, yeah, we might be able to get him in here and talk. I have a feeling that, I mean, people like that who invent that stuff, they just kind of invent it and go away. It's like the guy who invented Markdown, Gruber. He's never involved. JGM tries to get him to involve to do stuff. He doesn't talk. He's like, no, I just invented it. You figure it out. There's a lot of people like that, and they live in IRC. Funkmaid was talking about that the other day. All these 10x engineers doing stuff on IRC that nobody else even knows about. And they just totally content to not have anybody else know they exist. They just they have their tiny little tribe, and they don't go out much of their little tribe. But if you can get into their tribe or listen to what they have to say, oh my God. It's the same way with, obviously that's the same way with security too. Yeah. Darknet security, that kind of stuff. I had a Linux quick start, which came in your shrink rep Linux. Ooh, yes. I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to look at the IP addresses here. I'm getting I should probably quit soon because I'm not really focused. I need to be though. I need to be focused. I got to get this stuff down. All right. So we've got 10.244.1.2. This is the network for all of the stuff that's here. So if I do kget pods, oh wow. So we have one pod running inside of our Kubernetes cluster, and I want to see all of them. So this is all the pods that are in here. The pods are not necessarily systems. I'm actually going to log into the kube proxy. I want to see if I can. I might be able to. So let's do this. Let's do kEdit kube proxy dash name kube system kube proxy. There's a couple of them. So I want to see what the container command is. Okay, so there we go. So that actually is something we can probably log into. So let's do that. Let's do exec dash bash kube system not found. Oh, dash n. Internal error container failed to exec container. Process bash. I'll see if there's an sh over there. Yep. Nope. Executable file not found in path. What kind of thing is the container? Let me go see that again. command user local bin kube proxy. I wonder if it's bin sh. It looks like it doesn't even have bin sh in it. It has to though. It has to have a host thing. Alias k. I don't do it as an alias though because it doesn't work with watch. In case you're wondering. Yeah, I don't do it as an alias. I hate aliases. I've written extensively about why I hate them. I do exec. I call them shortcut commands because they work with. I use shortcut commands because they work everywhere, including from VI. So let me show you something that won't work with an alias. Okay, let's say I want to list all of the pods here, right? So I do this. I do k get pods -a. And I want to replace this using a filter command with run bash, and I want it to run that. What I just did will not work with an alias because the alias is not present to the subshell. It's not available to the subprod. That's why I hate aliases. I will only use aliases if I absolutely know I'm only going to use them from the command line. Another reason to not do that is another thing you're going to do that you cannot do with an alias. Watch k get pods, which I do all day, every day to run. You can do pods -w, which is not the same. But this works with everything. So if I want to do k get nodes, I can get nods. There's no nod. I can do k get nodes and I can sit and watch it. That command I just did will not work with an alias or a function, not even a function. So these one line commands, you can, I don't, cause it's just easier. It's easier for me to type the whole word out. Yeah, you can type the word. The thing I hate about Kubernetes is they've decided to shortcut some things, but not others. And so sometimes you can get it right, like an S for namespaces, but they're not, none of them are documented. So you just have to like read it someplace. Am I need to not the shortcut? What's that? K get PO. Oh, end node? Yeah, I guess you could do that. I guess. Yeah, I guess we could do that. I haven't done that much, but that's a great idea. I need to do that more. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for showing me that. 10 points to you. Seriously, thank you for showing me that. I don't do that. I think I knew about it, but I just haven't been doing it. That's a great idea. Particularly because, yeah, it shows what's going on with your node and everything. Yep, I really like it. I'm not creating an alias for it. Now that does deserve an alias, right? That does deserve an alias. Like, what would you make for that? That I agree completely with that, because I would never run that from inside of VI to get output or something. If I were going to do that, I would do it in VI, right? So I would do this. I would do k get PO node and run that through bash. Get the output and put it in make it a markdown thing, and send my support ticket in or something. That's why VI is awesome. If you haven't discovered the filter command in VI, you haven't learned VI. I say it all the time. It's kind of a mantra. Honestly, you don't know VI because you can't use VI in the Unix way if you haven't learned it yet. Is kget pods -w. I said that, and it doesn't. The reason you can't use get pods -w is because the W doesn't update the way you expect. I promise. I got burned by that. Because it's using the watch API, which is different than a fresh refresh of the current state. So it shows you updates to the logs. It's almost impossible for me to recreate it. It's not the same thing though. That's the bottom line. It updates the way you expect, right? But then what I want to see is I want to see the current state. I don't want to see all the incremental places that get to that. When I run a watch, I want to see, when I run a watch, I want to see that command re-executed a second time. And so when someone calls something watch with -w or something, the reason I got burned, Vera went off on me on this too. He's like, you don't understand. -w is not watch, like in the sense of repeated. It's like, it's using the watch API call. I'm like, what's that? So yeah, Vim nowadays a lot. Yes. Cheat sheet from inside Vim. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Approval for plugins. You're kidding me? Because the new corp requires approval for plugins, I'm using Vim waiting for VS Code to get approved by the security. What? Oh, you got to tell me all about that story. I cannot wait to use you as evidence. As evidence. Yeah, that is awesome. I actually love that story. Don't use plugins. How many times do I have to say it? I don't even say it anymore. It's like, fine, ruin your possibilities, make yourself unemployable. Okay. I mean, you could probably. Jenny gets mad every time I say that. She gets really mad at me. It's like, if you're not unemployable, just come work for me. That's what she says. She's probably gone right now, but that's what she always says every time I say that. She goes, "You don't have to know VM to work for me. You don't have to know it." And she's, that's fine. There are certain places though that you need to know it. You can't even take the certification exam for OSCP or any cloud native or any Linux Foundation stuff without knowing VI. The end. There's no Emacs. There's no VS Code. If you want to get any of those dozens of certificates, you have to know it. The end. I'm not arguing a point anymore. I'll let them argue with you about why. We are on a server. So the next thing I want to do is I want to look around on one of these nodes. And honestly, I just want to see what's there. Get nodes. I know I haven't been doing a lot of stuff here, but I need to log into this node. And the only way you can log into the node is use Docker. So I use Docker exec, which is the same as SSH, kind of in this case. And I'm going to go onto kind worker 1. And there's no dash after this. It always blows me. I wish they would at least get that together. So I'm just going to run bash over here. So now I've got root access. It's as if I logged into the system. And essentially a bank. Yeah. Yep. So here we are. We are K9S. No, not yet. To shell into pods is its main feature. Really? Yeah. Well, pods is the thing anyway. Oh, you're talking about to shell into pods, not to the pod, but into the underlying host? This, by the way, what I just did was not that, right? I connected to the host. You got to imagine the nodes in top of this. I'm on the host, the simulated host anyway. So I'm going to see what's over here. So I can do all of my normal things here. So we got systemd, it's Ubuntu, containerd is running. So we got containerd. We have kubelet, which we'd expect, right? Oh, look, it gave it a node IP address. How did it get the node IP address? So I am convinced that I can actually do all the steps for setting up a node and go through it the hard way and use a container, just a Docker container, period, and then add it to the cluster and everything. I'm super happy about that because that's the next huge step. I'll be doing that tomorrow a lot. I'm going to do a little bit tonight. I'm not shelling into the node. No, I just shelled into the machine. Yes, the node. Yes. Okay. So the reason I'm calling it a machine is because a node is a machine that is running all the Kubernetes stuff. So it is a node, but yes, the answer is yes. Your hat is not quite opaque. It isn't? Oh, because it's green, right? I just noticed that. It makes me look kind of ghostly. I need more hats, by the way. If you will send me, I'll send you a P.O. box. If anybody has anything they want me to promote, send me a hat. I'm tired of wearing the same hat all the time. I'm not kidding. Send me a hat. Tony Wong, can I pay you money and you can gather hats for me at your KubeCon? Please. Please. No, seriously, I will send you cash for as many hats as you can give me. And you can even tell them, well, you don't have to tell them because it might sound like I'm advertising. I'm not. Seriously, send me like a box of fucking hats. Because if you send me the hats, I will stream more because then I can keep the lights out of my eyes and people will be happy and I can advertise for Elasticsearch or whatever. Honestly, I totally will do it. I will wear a different hat every day. I would like it to be, Kubernetes, honestly. And I'll try to pay you back somehow, but I would really love that. That would really help me. I'm sure you can get me a red hat. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind wearing a red hat. Why not? From Red Hat. Get a red hat from Red Hat, whatever they have, right? So they may not want to be associated with me. You might not want to tell them who it's for. It depends. It depends on who you talk to on any given day. Some people are like, Get him a Fedora. I have a Fedora. Where is it? I have multiple Fedoras. The problem with Fedoras is they don't hold the light out. Fedora are only for employees. That makes sense. It makes sense, except for it doesn't, because Fedora is only for non-employees of Red Hat. It's non-professional. Seriously, I have to have something that covers my eyes, though. That's the problem. I have any baseball caps or something. You have Fedora from Red Hat? Oh, you're fancy. All right, I am on the system. So I'm 100% convinced at this point that, as our friend earlier said, all we need to do to join, all we need to do to make a node is to create a Docker image that's running in the same namespace. Well, actually, it doesn't have to do that. Just start running a Docker image and do all the install on it and do all the steps necessary to install, which I don't know what those are. That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to decide whether I need to, create a cloud cluster, or I need more VMs, or I need to go put some hardware in order to do the sort of node CKA-ish tasks related to this. And I haven't even done any of them yet. I've never even set up a node before. So I'm about to do that. And now I realize that all I need to do is create a machine with a Docker image in kind, which is awesome. It's like awesome. And this is, look, this is run containerd sock. Do you see what it's doing? It's mounting the socket from the host OS. Oh God, you know what that means? That means that there's some kind customization going on. Okay, I have a question. So one of the requirements, this is an important question. So, it's, so if I add, so as you know, in order to have a container, in order to have a node, okay. All right, here's a test. We'll give you a test. I'm going to test myself here. In order to have a node, what do you need? One, you need a machine, virtual or otherwise, real or otherwise. Two, you need to install a container runtime, something that's the container runtime, sometimes that fulfills the container runtime interface, which is containerd in this case, could be whatever. Creo, blah, blah. That has to have that. So here's my question. How do I do that on a Kubernetes? I already know this from working on workspace containers, that I have to mount the socket that's already on the host OS. Okay, you need a kubelet. I know. Okay, so let's finish that. So you need a kubelet and you need a kubeproxy. And apparently you need kubeadm if you want to manage it from the center. So this is what I'm hearing anyway. So you need a kubelet, you need a kubeproxy, and you need a container. You need a container engine. So I mean kubelet. I get installing kubelet and proxy. I understand doing that, right? So the kubelet. Well, okay. So this is right. So the thing that I'm afraid of here is that there's going to be too much magic going on, because it's not going to be a thorough. It's going to be a true learning experience, because there's going to be too much magic. I'm going to be learning about the magic and not about actually, setting up hardware. And specifically, I'm concerned about the container part, the container engine, because I know for a fact when you start up a Docker, machine, if you want a container engine, you can have a container engine run inside of it if you want, or you can mount the host socket if I run docker.sock, and then use that, and it will use the same container from the host OS. But I don't know how they do it here. It says here container runtime endpoint Unix run containerd.sock. Fail swap on equals false. Ooh, so you got to turn that off. Node labels equals blah, pod infrastructure, pod infra container engine Kubernetes. Pause, provider, ID, kind, Docker, kind worker, fail and swap on. C group equals group kubelet. So the question I have, it looks to me like it's firing up a independent, totally encapsulated container runtime. How could I prove that? Well, let's see if I can run Docker over here. Nope. So there's no Docker. Is there Podman? What's over here? I mean, how would I even know? It's got to have a container runtime. How can I even check the container runtime on the thing? I mean, well, I happen to know that at our place of work, if you get on a node, you can just run Docker on that node because Docker has to be installed there. And so, and they do it all the time. It's a violation of best practices, but they'll go on the system and run Docker because Docker is independent. The container engine is totally independent of Kubernetes. Kubernetes requires it, but it's not a part of it. The container runtime is in a file config. How does that doesn't make any sense to me. So how the fuck am I supposed to install a container runtime as a part of my node training? I can't. I could if I was doing this with Minikube, right? Because I could just fire up another system, another virtual machine, and then do all the installation steps as required. But I can't do it this way. So that's, I mean, it might be nice for something. Kubelet loads the file. So how can I even see what container runtime is installed over here? It's because it's an image, therefore it's not going to have Docker on here, right? Because it would be bad practice to have Docker on here anyway. I wonder if it'll let me put it on, though. You can't apt install it because it's not a thing. Docker C. What is it? I'm just curious. This is just a curiosity, really. I'm wondering, you know, change it with local Docker file. Yeah. Right. But if this is, I mean, this is a minimal image, of course, for all the right reasons. But if I wanted to bloat it out a little bit to emulate what a real endpoint might have, in our case, our endpoints have Docker installed. So I'm just wondering, I have to go look up the Docker install instructions. I don't remember what it is. I think this is script, and I gotta go to get the script. Yeah, I mean, this is, oh, wow, that's interesting. So there is an app. The Ubuntu does have it. Man, it's going to bloat the shit out of this, but oh well. You want to continue? Yes. I said yes. Why did you not continue? Not enough space? Oh, there we go. All right, this is going to be interesting. So Docker PS. What the fuck? Where did it put it? I mean, I'm guessing user bin. I don't know. Var run container runtime task. File name loop detected. C groups CPU set Docker. User Docker. Where is it? User bin Docker is not mounted, I bet. I mean, it's not in the path. What the fuck? What the fuck? No Docker anywhere. Why is all my Z shell over here? I did not install that. Oh my god. Yes, I installed an all my Z shell plugin. That's the universe laughing at me. Of course it's Docker.io. I'm an idiot. Look what it did. I have all of my Z shell on my nodes. Somebody's gonna clip that and hold it against me someday. Oh yeah, I saw you install all my Z shell plugins. I know you truly love it inside. Of course it's Docker.io. Dumbest mistake of the day. I knew that too. I just have a bad memory. I have a bad memory. My memory is horrible. Hey, look, I have an Apple Pencil now again. I had to buy a new one. It was only $89. That's all. Fucking. All right, so there we go. Cannot connect to Docker daemon because there isn't one. I have to tell it what the socket is. Your CSSP came in? Ooh. That just proves you know how to throw money away every year. Isn't that like an annual $300 fee, or is it 3 years? There's this senior executive who was tweeting about that. She was hilarious. she was she was just complaining about it's mandatory. Um, Obviously, I need to tell Docker where my container socket is. I probably should have installed Podman instead. How do I even know? Wait. I know. Wait. This is all training through experimentation. Physical pin. I'm saying, yeah. So, kubelet bootstrap container d.sock. All right, can you change Docker to do that? I don't know. I'm learning here. So Docker, I want to do man Docker. Probably not. Nope. I need man pages. How about Docker help? Docker. How do I point it at a different port? Linux distro I use. At the moment, I'm using Ubuntu. I'm a Pop OS guy. Just put it on there and it works. Everything works, including Steam and including Proton, web Windows games. It just works. That's never happened in my entire life. I've never had a Linux distro that I just turn it on and everything, including my Windows games, just works. And streaming and everything. I'm so pleased. Self-sufficient runtime for containers. Yeah, okay, if you say so. Location of client config files. I help write the standards. They trickle into audit requirements. Then I need to take the exam. That's true, Taniwa. Yeah. Yep. Isn't that crazy? I know. So, hey, since you're here, this is another spy thing I want. A KubeCon spy task mission. This is my request. This is my spy request. Determine in the hallways how likely learning cluster CTL is going to be on the CKA exam within the next 2 years. Now that it's been officially adopted. There you go. There's a mission for you. I have a feeling it's gonna make it in. I mean, if Helm made it into to 2021 standard for CKD, I think that cluster. I know you were saying you have some reservations about it. Yeah, just Linux is Linux. You doubt it? You think you doubt it? Because it still has problems, or because it's not really core. Is adoption not high because it's not known about? I mean, maybe it was the one. I mean, we're gonna see this year, right? We're gonna see this year, having had it been, it's got the 1.0 release, was probably holding people back. It depends on how involved you want to be. Arch versus Ubuntu is very different for fun. Yeah. If you absolutely. So I don't have opinions on distros anymore. You guys can pick your own distro and give a fuck. Honestly, I am so done giving a fuck about the distro you pick, because you all have different needs, and if you want to sweat blood and tears and learn things that are going to make you completely irrelevant in the cloud space, learn Arch. If you just want shit to work that's also going to be based on the biggest cloud OS distribution on the planet Earth, then install something like Pop OS or Mint. It's up to you. Do whatever you want. Let's see. Kind, yeah. It helps us, but there are other ways to solve it. Yes. I'm curious you have to finish that sentence another day. What can make an Ubuntu into Arch into something? Installation of all the packages. The bottom line with Linux distros is they're distinguished primarily by their package manager. These days, most distros are distinguished by their package manager. And Debian and Ubuntu are largely the same, but they have pretty substantial package management differences. If you're a masochist, Arch is great. Seriously, if you want to learn Linux like I did in 1996, 7, then go for it. I get one down. It's a real topic. Yeah, actually, if you have that written down anywhere, yeah, don't do it here. But if you have that written down anywhere, I would really love to hear, because I feel like I'm trying to decide how much to invest into it and etc. All right. I think most of the things that I want to accomplish, I can accomplish with Kind and some bash scripts right now. So in terms of like education stuff, but doing, pointing that same stuff at something else. Total Reach, how are you? Watching your Pandoc vids and was wondering if there was a script you could make to do a blog with it. Yeah, it's like 20 lines of code. What are you talking about? To make a blog like, I use Zettelkasten for that, Total Reach. I don't blog. I went with a different path entirely, and I can't really talk about it right now. But yeah, just try to research the stuff about Zettelkasten that's in my videos, and you'll see what's up with that. I don't believe in blogging. I think blogging is a waste of time. I write notes and comments and articles all the time, every day, but I don't believe in blogging per se. Did you see they're bringing RSS back? Google is. It's like they're really pushing it hard. That's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Anyway, you can install Gentoo. Yeah. Arch offers levels of control, which are great for those who like to tinker, personally speaking. Yeah, but I'm satisfied with all of the tinkering by, using containers. Containers is like, unless you're doing device level tinkering, yeah, I think the original appeal of Arch was that, and I think that a lot of Arch people are missing the boat because so many Arch people are not interested in cloud at all, cloud native anything. And then, I can run Arch. Watch me run Arch. I'll run Arch for you right now. Run Arch. Oopsie. It's Arch Linux / Arch, I think, right? Damn it. It doesn't exist. What is it called? I think that's it. I forgot the name of it. Docker images. Grep Arch. Oh, it's Arch Linux. Never mind. Run Arch Linux. Yay, now I have Arch. There you go. I'm running Arch. Yeah. Site generator with Pandoc, and it was interesting in building my own cut down type of Hugo. Yeah. I completely suggest you that. I've moved toward a Zettelkasten approach for managing all my learning and knowledge and everything. Yeah, if you want to see that, I made a few videos about it, and then here's my here's all of the there's a search of all of the stuff I've written about Zettelkasten on my Zettelkasten. You can go click and watch that if you want to go read about it. I also prefer GitHub right now because it has built-in searchability, and I don't have to write a code for that for a website yet. I will eventually, but I don't have it yet. I've written it before. I just haven't caught it up with my new approach. So here we got a worker node. I still haven't figured out how to get Docker run off my other socket. Daemon socket could connect to host. Okay. I'm gonna try this here. PSEF more. So I'm kind of cheating. I see here that we have a container socket here. Running time. And I think we can just, I don't know. I think we can do this. Nope. Apparently not. Oh wait, we need to do something. So docker-h ps. What? Transport connection broken, malform HTTP response. TLS enabled daemon without TLS. No, I don't think I am. All right, time to search. How do I connect to a different socket container D with Docker? I have it. It's -h, but I don't know what to do. Unix sockets. Oh, there we go. Oh no, we don't want that. That's the normal way of how to mount it. Okay, for like if I add an article for a section and it adds the link to the index for that section. Yeah, I don't have that. I don't do that. I don't have any indexes. I use GitHub for my index. Yeah, so I know what you're after, but I there's lots of reasons that I don't feel compelled to make it. for me, because I'm not writing the blog for other people. I'm writing for myself. And if mostly also I've been punished for publishing blog stuff because people hold it to a higher standard. So I'm like, fuck that. It's just a big readme. And so this is my index. These ones are, it adds notes to it and stuff. You can go look at my Zettel command if you want. But yeah, and then all these are tiny little, sometimes they're significant, sometimes they're smaller. Here's the most recent one, and you just click on it, and then I read it here. So this is how I publish. And I don't have a website. To make a website out of this, it's just make a website and make a standard. Just do a add to your bash script, and then just grab all the names out and build an index. And that's actually in the plan. But that's kind of gotten back burnered for right now because I'm certifying for Kubernetes at the moment. But the most important thing is that all the content that I write that I need to look up is available for me to do that right now, and backed up and everything. And then later on, if people want to see it, they can go to my README directory. If they want to do the blog later, they can do the blog. So I don't know what to do with this one. It seems to have not worked. I don't know. Let's see. Docker guides to get more information on Docker. Open link. No, I don't want your graphic shit. Okay, so what are we gonna do? I was thinking it would be a nice learning experience. Oh yeah, writing a knowledge management tool. Whatever you do, somebody tweeted actually they built their own based on my Zettel casting system. It's a great thing. How's it going, Seth Eric? Watching First Say in the background just to say hi. Yeah, me too. It's great to see you. Thank you for saying hi, Seth Eric. So I'm gonna say, what am I doing here? Again, I'm trying to find out how do I connect the same query. Sorry, I get that query twice. I need to change container engines. This is going to be interesting because apparently you're supposed to be able to use Docker with, container IO because it's CRI compliant. But what I want to know is how do you set the different, fuck you compose, fuck you and your compose and your NPM. Holy shit. Why am I looking at this? What I want to know is how do I run Docker against the different container runtime? How do I connect Docker containers? No. Docker networking? No. Understanding Docker networking? No. I must have done a search wrong. This is bullshit. How to connect localhost from Docker? No. How to run Docker in a Docker container? I know how to do that already. That's just mounting the var thing. I want to connect to a different socket. All right. So Docker examples with -h. Docker tutorial. No, I don't want Docker file. Anybody know? Docker run with examples. No. Docker exec. I don't want Docker exec. I want to run the Docker. I'm just gonna have to try it. Docker help. All right, so it says host list Docker socket to connect to. Still logging level. I don't know if that's a thing. Use TLS. Implied by TLS verify. Okay, maybe that was a problem. Yeah, that might have been. Yep, I think it might have been. Maybe not. Shit. It's TLS, right? Damn it. Oh, dash TLS. Fuck. No such file or directory. All right, fine. Thing without TLS. Let's see. Get HTTP run containerd. Why did it do it as Unix? That's stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. Um, I want to connect to the daemon. I want to change it from var log whatever the fuck, from var run or var socket or whatever. Let me see how to ask that question. So we need to ask how. Let's see. Docker connect with container d socket. How do you connect a socket with socket.io in a Docker? No. Accessing Docker socket within container. Yes. Please don't tell me var run doc. No. No. What? Run Docker run dash v. No, I don't want that either. You should never do this. It's super dangerous. Yeah, that's why I don't want to do it. Damn it. There's no Docker in here. So, what I want to know is how does kind fulfill the container requirement? And is it in a way that I can actually use? Can't run Docker by itself. Docker. Yes. Cannot connect to the daemon socket at var run Docker socket. Is the Docker daemon running? Yes, but I don't know how to change it to connect to the other spot. Docker daemon. I don't know how to change it. I know you can, I just don't know how. Connect to a socket with no. Connect Docker. It's because it's Unix Docker. Failed to connect to container D. Or on Docker container Docker socket. What? Wait. This might have answers. This might have answers. Run Docker container D. Docker container D dot sock. Ooh. SGRPC. Takes us update successful. It's version of Docker stuff. This is a basic thing. That's why I'm kind of pissed. I mean, this should be easy to just tell it what to do. So I need to learn this. I still have Docker skills to learn. There's just no doubt. Lag. HTTP stuff. Why would you give me that? Status Docker. Docker's there. It's just it's connected to the wrong port. So this says it's var run Docker container d.sock. But I don't know how to send it that address. It's got to be -h. But then it says it wants TLS, and I don't have TLS. Maybe I need to set up TLS. Oh, I do. I need to set up TLS. I have to go. Okay, that makes sense. I think I figured it out. Because, all right, so this thing got fired off here. And it is not, yeah, this is the address, but this address requires a cert, and I need to find out where the cert was set up. But once I do that, I should be able to run Docker from here. But I don't have to do that. The thing I don't understand is I don't have to do that from my work systems where we go onto the system. So there's some extra piece missing, and I want to understand it because it'll help me understand it. Address, yeah. Yeah. Come on, Docker. Docker.h, Unix. Yes. Get. Why is it doing HTTP? I don't understand. I didn't say use HTTP. Docker daemon, TCP localhost run container. Do I need to put I'd put Unix. Why is it doing that? I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why. Probably time for me to go for a run. Maybe a breakthrough will happen while I'm running. There you see, endpoint equals run container sock. Container runtime equals remote. Oh, my wife is calling. So I'm gonna call this session for now. Bye. Maybe I'll think about this. I'll come back to it when we're doing it later. See y'all later. I'm just gonna leave this running. I'll turn some music on.